which Andrew Tate describes and promotes, where men have
I got
children
into
by many
a
different women.
kerfluffle with him on Twitter, by the way, about this.
When was this?
This was yesterday. We were arguing back and forth, me and Matt Walsh.
All right.
Where I told him essentially, like, stop being a wuss about this and just directly confront these guys. Like, I'm so sick of hearing the polygyny debate, and it's been at the undercurrent of it, and it's time for a few of us to just directly debate and confront those ideologies so that we can just show people how stupid they are. As a commenter rightly pointed out, we endorse game it, right? We just destroy it so badly that people don't bring it back up for a while.
Right. Okay. Well, would you be willing to, you'd obviously be willing to do the debate. Do you think that Matt Walsh would be willing to do this debate?
I don't. And what's funny is, like, I'd be willing even to do it on Matt Walsh's side against Myron and Andrew Tate, and I think we would win. But I don't think that he would do it.
Well, he's not a debater, Matt Walsh. He struggles in debates a lot.
He doesn't need to be. I'm a good debater. I can carry it with him.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. If you were to prep him before it on the various different points, then I think it would be a strong showing.
I agree. We'd be ready to go.
Yep.
Has lots of historical precedent. It does. This is the way that primitive societies have operated for thousands of years. And today, this strategy, if we can call it that, is very popular in certain communities in this country.
It is very popular. I will say that much. And just from me sort of on my travels and everything, I meet obviously a lot of young guys, and these conversations tend to come up a lot. And I have met a lot of young guys recently who have been saying this. I'm not going to get married. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have multiple wives. I'm going to have multiple wives in different countries, these sorts of things. It is becoming very popular because
I'm going to let you in on a secret.
Yeah.
Because you're a young guy, right? This was popular when I was young too.
Yeah.
And it was popular when Gen X was young too. And the thing is that what happens is this, right, Jake? You go and you sow all those wild oats, and then by the time you hit your 30s, especially your mid-30s, you start to go, wait a second, I don't have any purpose whatsoever in life. And then you end up completely reforming. The idea is that this idea that this is just now resurgently popular, it goes in waves. Just like when I was younger. You think when I was a kid, there wasn't people playing the field, weren't advocating for polygyny, weren't living they called it the rock star lifestyle then, right? We're going to have drugs and lots of sex and this and that. You know what I mean? That's a rock star lifestyle. And again, only available to very few people, right? And all of those rock stars all reformed. It's so funny, isn't it? After they're all done with their 90s rock star lifestyle, they all became Christians, right? They're all singing Christian music and hymns and like that. They all reformed their real quick when they figured out, wait a second, this is a purposeless life.
It's interesting because it reminds me of a conversation that we had when I was in Santa Barbara last time. And I said, Andrew, I'm getting into that stage of my life. I'm nearly 30 now. What should I be looking for in terms of marriage? I want to be able to settle down at some point. And I was expecting you to give me the laundry list, but instead you said to me, oh, you're not ready. And I was like, well, screw you, dude. Who are you to tell me I'm not ready? But now I kind of understand what you mean by that, in the sense that there's a part of you that has to die. And I think that a lot of young guys will interpret this as some sort of a death of the soul, death of the spirit, end of the masculine lifestyle. But there is sort of a part of you that has to die in a healthy way, I guess.
Well, it's the materialist side. Once you realize that you can have everything you want, you realize that you don't really want anything. And so the thing is, it's so funny about that is think about a material thing that you've wanted more than anything. You've just always wanted it. And then the day finally comes where you get it. You lose interest in it really quickly. That's just how it is. Can you think of anything that you really wanted, that you got it, and you're still as interested in it today as you were when you got it?
Well, the worst part is you're interested in it for 5 minutes, if that, when you get it. And you're like, oh, fuck, that's a thing.
Guess what, though? That's not the case with a good wife, is it?
No.
You don't just lose interest, do you? They're just as important the day you get them as the day you lose them. So this is the important distinction between the material pursuit and the idea that we can just take spiritualism completely out of the human experience and pretend it doesn't exist, and pretend that purpose is only material, because it's not.
Yeah. Well, what did you mean when you said you're not ready? Was it not ready in the sense that the priorities aren't there, the roots aren't there, that sort of thing? What does a guy need to do to be ready?
They have to kill off the materialist aspect of themselves. They have to realize that the things which are important to them don't actually exist in the world. And once you realize that most material things are just completely unimportant and always have been because you can't obtain them, you realize that you f***ed up the whole time. You f***ed up the whole time and you fell for a big lie, which was that any material pursuit was going to ultimately be in some way fulfilling. It never is. Look at the lottery curse, Jake. You ever heard of the lotto
Yeah.
curse?
Yeah.
Yeah. How is it that people who had nothing can finally get everything that they ever wanted and they're the most miserable that they've ever been? It's
Yeah.
because once you have access to all the material things you could ever want after your needs are met, right? So like you need to have water and food and shelter, right? Those are your material needs and some form of recreation. You need to at least have those things. But past that, when you get into the pursuit of thing I want, right? You realize that once you get that thing, you lose interest in it almost as fast as you got it.
Mm. It is
Almost as fast as you got it.
kind of a terrifying thing, though, because that is like something that's genuinely like a struggle for guys to kill that part of themselves, the materialistic part. And if there's not an incentive and if there's not a clear path in terms of killing that side of you, then I can see why guys would get super tempted into the lifestyle of just of keeping that until their 40s and 50s, and they're wearing like a tacky suit at a bar at 50 years
Yeah,
old.
but doesn't a kid your age, when you see a guy in his 50s living that way, think in your head he's pathetic?
I do,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
do,
that's what all
yeah.
of you guys always tell me, that the
Mm.
40, 50s, even early 60s playboys driving around the muscle cars with a 25-year-old, basically prostitute on their arm. They look at me and say, "Oh, that guy's pathetic." And I'm like, "What's the difference between him and you except the number in your years?"
Yeah, it's so true, man. It's so true. It's so true. Yeah, it is kind of pathetic. And when you see, and also when you interact with these people, it's like it's almost, especially for women, I find that it's almost a necessary part of the maturation process of a human being to actually give that, to be selfless in that way, if you know what I mean.
It's a part of who?
It's like a necessary part of the maturation process of a human being to then have that sort of ego death.
Yeah, well, it's just that with age comes the idea that most of the shit that you wanted is because somebody else had it.
Yeah. All right,
That
let's carry on with this.
99% of the shit that you want in life is because somebody else has it and you don't. And
Mm.
once you realize that and you stop caring about what other people have and care instead about what it is that you actually value, you realize that you don't value very much. That's why the older you get, the more you see us old guys saying like, "I don't care, I don't give a I don't care." You know what I mean? Don't care,
Mm.
don't care, don't care. You'll hear this commonly. The older I get, the less I care about things. That's not true. It's just the older you get, the more you care about things that matter, and the less you care about everything else, which almost nothing matters. Once you realize that, then you're ready.
Mm.
And you can always spot those communities because they're the ones that are the most dysfunctional, the filthiest, most destitute, and crime-ridden places in the country. Show me the murder rate and the average yearly income in any neighborhood, and I will tell you whether most of the children in that neighborhood have a father in the home or not. And I will never be wrong. Andrew Tate talks about this kind of lifestyle as though it's natural. In a post on Sunday, he made that claim explicitly. He said, quote, "Monogamy isn't natural for men. We are not monkeys or lizards or sharks. We are human beings. And my controversial contention is that we should act like it."
Well, and by the way,
Is
there's
monogamy?
something here which reinforces Matt that he's not bringing up. Is that if it's the case you're coming from this from a red pill perspective, non-religious, then you're adapting evolutionary psychology, which the key point of this is what? Evolution, right, Jake?
Mm.
So how can you ever say that if it's the case that half the world practices monogamy, that men did not evolve to practice monogamy? Of
Yeah.
course they did. That would be part of the evolutionary process. So to say that that's not natural would actually be stupid. That makes no sense, right? It would absolutely have to be part of the natural world that we evolved towards monogamy, or we wouldn't engage in it.
Yeah, and if the idea is to reproduce and survive as well, I mean, we have to reproduce our society, and what's the best way to do that?
Yeah,
Be
exactly. What's the
natural?
best way for it to thrive?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, a bunch
Even
of
better,
single
it's
moms, isn't it?
supernatural. Man and wife become one at the altar. They are bound together by the vow they made before God. This is above our base instincts. And so is composing a symphony or sculpting the statue of David out of a chunk of marble. These things are achieved just like any great thing is achieved by rejecting temptation, subordinating our base desires, embracing some measure of hardship for the sake of something far greater than whatever momentary pleasure we can experience by giving into them. And there is nothing in this world more manly, more masculine than that. In fact, I would say this is the very
No.
definition
So this
of
is where he gets it
masculinity.
wrong. At least in my opinion, this is where he gets it wrong. So he's talking about the hierarchy of duties in men, right? However, there's no obligation for men to fulfill this higher duty of moving themselves away from base instincts and moving themselves into the maturation of assisting women at their expense if women are not also moving towards the same virtues and duty. So if it's the case that one whole half of society is not encompassing those same virtues, what obligation do you have to do so? And this is the question that Matt will stumble on over and over and over again, and most people on my side will as well.
Right. So what's the answer then? Because I think that he does make a good point that in terms of what is manly and masculine, being if you're materialist and everything that you do constantly goes inwards, then it sort of almost eats away at you. But if you are taking your masculine virtues and if you're expressing them outwards and towards family and community and these sorts of things, and I think that's a much more masculine thing because it sort of expands endlessly.
Yeah, but in the encompassment of that masculinity, does that mean that you give your resources to people who are undeserving of them?
Sometimes undeserving is probably the key word there. Yeah. People
So
in need, maybe, but undeserving is the key word. Probably not. No.
yeah, but who determines that people in need deserve it? You, the person who has the resources, gets to make that determination, right?
Yeah.
In other words, you don't have, Jake, a duty to give to people who are in need, do you?
Well, as a Christian, you have some sort of a duty to tithe, right?
Sure, but isn't that supposed to be used responsibly towards people you think deserve to have that coming towards them, or in some way you're dispensing the charity towards a person because you think that they can do good with it? You wouldn't dispense charity to somebody you thought was going to do bad with it, right? Like you're not going to give a bum $20 to go buy booze, are you?
No.
No.
Yeah. So,
So you
but I
don't.
think
So
there
you
is a
don't.
duty there. There is a
Yeah.
duty there, though.
Yeah. Maybe, but
Yeah.
who gets to determine when it's fulfilled?
You do. Yeah.
Yeah, you do, right? So that's the case that the red pill is making here. Who gets to make the determination as to which women are deserving of these characteristics and virtues and are deserving of the resources? It's not the women that get to determine that. It's us who gets to determine that. And I think that that is one of the key parts that's been missing from the Christian ethics side.
So, but what is actually the counter argument here? What should Matt Walsh say in regards to this? So he's saying that it's the most
To take
masculine thing
over.
to
What
do.
do you mean?
Yeah,
The
okay.
same thing we've always been needing to do. You take the over. You tell Christians it's perfectly acceptable to boycott. It's perfectly acceptable for you to discriminate against people who don't share your values. Nepotism's totally acceptable. The fact that you can flood the polls and get people with your values in office and they're going to be discriminatory towards those who don't have your values is totally fine. That's the answer. The answer is to take that over. And then you institute your force of will the same way the opposition has been for the good of everybody. This whole
Thanks.
black pill, we're just going to give the up that rolling over for take that over. You take it over.
I feel like running through a wall right now.